Hello and welcome back to Retfurb. So on today's video we've got this 1998 GT Pantera, which as you can see has seen better days. So we're going to give it a complete overhaul, strip down, go through all the parts, upgrade some bits, and hopefully by the end of it will turn out to be a nice bike. So let's get to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the seat post and the seat. So I'm not sure what I was glancing at then, but let's just undo this quick release and then we can pull that out. And now on to removing the rear wheel. Nice and easy again, just a quick release to remove that, just getting the chain out of the way, and again onto the front wheel. Now onto the crank, so just undoing the main bolt and then using the crank release tool to then remove the crank arm. And now to remove the chain, which has been split. I will be reusing this chain, I've got a new link to go in there. And now to remove the front derailleur. So this one's seen better days, to be honest. As you can see, it's a little bit ropey, but we'll give it a clean up, give it a service, and hopefully that'll be fine to use again. And now to remove the bottom bracket, which was an absolute pain in the butt. Now onto the rear derailleur, just cutting the cable and then removing the bolt to release the rear derailleur, and then the derailleur hanger will come off. So with the bottom bracket, just going back to that, I had to use a big bar in the end, take it outside. It probably took me about half an hour to get that off, but finally it released. For some reason it was in there really tight, so luckily I got it out without causing any damage. And as you can see, I'm just removing the V-brakes from the rear, and then again onto the front, removing the V-brakes. These are the LX type, which were quite a popular brake back in the day when the bike was built in '98. A lot of people had these on their bikes because they were a good budget option and provided really good braking. And now removing the shifters and the brake levers. Nice and simple. These are just held on by Allen bolts. Now I had to actually file the end of the handlebars a little bit because they had sort of burrs on it and I couldn't get these off very easily. But I got there in the end and it came off and it's fine. So I'm not actually using these handlebars again or the stem. I've got some replacements on there. So the spec I'm trying to build this to is similar to what my mate had when he was younger. So I can't remember exactly everything on there, but I remember he had core stem and core handlebars. I know they were flat bars, but I'm going to put risers on there. So you can see now the handlebars are off, the stem's now removed, and we can remove the forks. So these forks are going to be going back on there, they're going to be serviced, they're actually going to be painted a different colour. I've got another video showing that, so I'll put a link in the description. I won't actually show it on this video. So now we're just going to do the front derailleur, give that a good clean up. So removing all the bits first, and then we can look at cleaning it as usual. I've got an old toothbrush that I use, just get rid of the worst of it, and then just scrape off as much as we can. Use some solvent-based degreaser in around, which will help clean it. You can see a lot of it's just sort of surface dirt and grime, so most of it will come off. There is some rust on there. Hopefully we'll be able to remove most of that. I'm going to use some wire wool and just put some solvent-based degreaser on there and just go over this part which has got a bit of surface rust on there and just a little bit inside. So you can see already it's looking pretty good just from that. And now I've just got a little bit of polish to do on the front part of the derailleur and also the part which clamps to the frame. This is just auto sole metal polish with a little Dremel with a polishing head. So I'm not going to go mad with it, just give it a bit of a sheen and just make it look a little bit more presentable than what it does. And now just to go around with a bit of wet lube and just lube up some of the joints just to make sure that it's all operating as it should. So as you can see, it's come out really well, just nice simple little refurb on there. And now similar sort of situation with the shifters. So these ones, again, I just got to strip them down. So it's more dirt and grime and grease that's sort of gone hard over the years and not been sort of serviced correctly. You'll see when I start opening it up that there's quite a bit of sort of dirt in there, but it comes out nice and easy. This is the sort of thing which needs to be done sort of periodically to make sure that they're working in good condition and there's no sort of issues with use. So now we're inside, we can get some solvent-based degreaser on a toothbrush and just cleaning all around the mechanism with a toothbrush. You can see straight away how good it looks now. Obviously I've fast forwarded a bit of this, so it does take a little bit longer, but once it's all clean, then you can use the wet lube again to go in around the joints and all the mechanism, and then that should be working as it was originally. And now just cleaning around some of the plastic shrouds that go on the derailleur and some of the small screws, just making sure that it's clean and tidy for when we reassemble it. And the adjusting screw part of the derailleur for the cable. And now we can look at putting it back together, just basically a reversal of what you did taking it off. So these shifters were a little bit stiff before I did this, so this did them a world of good, to be honest. It made them a lot more better. They're more, you know, functional again compared to what they were before. They shift well when they're on the bike, and you see I'm just testing there. And again, just going over now with a bit of AutoZone polish with the Dremel and just giving these a bit of a sheen, not going mad, just shining them up a little bit, making them look a bit better. And then we can fit that bracket back onto the actual shifter housing itself. So as you can see, both of them come out really well, all working good now. It's surprising what a good service will do. You know, it probably took me an hour to do it. And now you'll see it's fast forwarded into the future now, and I'm fitting decals onto the frame, which I made. The frame's actually been painted. I did try to polish it up, but once I started doing it, there was quite a lot of pitting in the aluminium underneath, so I decided to just give it a fresh coat of paint over it. Just tried to give it an aluminium look as best as possible with the process that I did. It's not spot on, but it looks pretty good. It's given it a nice clean look to it, and obviously with these decals, fitting them on there, they'll just look, you know, it'll make the bike look new again. And now onto the seat refurb. So you can see that straight away the front of the seat's sort of broken off. So first things first, I'm going to remove the outer vinyl covering, and we're going to look at replacing that with some other vinyl covering. Now, I did say that I'd never go back to using vinyl again, but on this I thought I'd give it another go. So first thing, I've got to replace the foam on the front edge here. This foam's a little bit softer, so I've left it a little bit proud, so when the the vinyl goes over there, it should sit flush. Now just applying some adhesive on there, ready to put the covering on. So this is a blue vinyl covering that I've got. I just thought I had this spare, why not give it another go and try a different method. So what I'm going to do is trim all round, and then I'm going to put little slits all the way around the sort of curved area, which I sort of did on the last one I did, but this one I've gone more of an extreme. Again, it was a pain. It didn't really want to sort of form as well, especially when I come to the front nose. That was an absolute nightmare with this. So I think this probably will be the last time I do use vinyl on a seat. I'm sure there's ways and means of doing it, and I'm sure people do it successfully, but because I quite like to get it quite sort of nice underneath and where it folds over, I wasn't really that happy with it. So I've made some custom decals to go on there, the GT logo and the WTB logo. This is the sort of same process I do all the seats that I've done, but I noticed that once I did this afterwards, it sort of distorted it a little bit. You can see I'm sort of pointing out, I don't know if you can see it on the video there, but the heat produced this sort of oil out of the vinyl, or something out of the vinyl, which caused it to then distort. Overall, it came out well, you know, it'll suit the bike with the blue. So now we're on to fitting the forks onto the frame. You can see I've already put the headset in. I think I've already put the crank in at this point as well. For some reason, I didn't have that on the video. So now we're just putting the headset in, putting the stem on. You'll see the forks here have all been painted, new decals. So I've done them in the Indy C colours, although they actually say Indy S on the decal that I made. But the full video is on another video on YouTube, so I will link that in the description. Now just putting the top cap on, just securing that, making sure that it's not too tight, that there's any sort of bearing issues. Now fitting the handlebars on. So I've got the core stem and the core handlebars. They've just had a coat of black on them just to freshen them up, and they'll also have new decals fitted on there. So originally the bike that I was trying to replicate had straight bars, but I prefer a riser bar just for comfort, so I've decided to do that on this bike. And now fitting the front derailleur that is refurbed, just loosely fitting it at this point. And now onto the front wheel. So the wheels have actually been changed on this bike from what it came with. They've actually got now D521 rims with LX hubs. the wheels that are on there had some issues, so I decided just to not mess around and use these. They were all repainted, all cleaned, the hubs were re-greased, the cassette was taken off and cleaned, that's all been re-oiled, and new tyres on there. So now I'm just going to fit the new decals onto the rim. So not exactly original looking, but they're the chrome finish, but some of the text in it looks a bit shinier than what it would have done originally. And the SUP decal to go on there. So you can see the rims are in really good condition. They've all been cleaned and repainted, and they've all been trued. And now onto the front brakes. So these have all been cleaned up at this point, and they've had a quick polish. Again, not too mad, just giving them a little bit of a sheen, just to clean them up. And new brake pads fitted. And now on to fitting the cables. Just here, making sure that the cables are the correct length when the bars are at the maximum either way, and then they could be cut and then fitted. So now just routing that cable into the top part. You can see the bike's coming together at this point. And then exactly the same with the rear section. I've just made a little small outer housing on the cable, and then fed the inner cable through and attaching it to the rear V-brake. And now on to fitting the chain. Simple process, just routing it all around the gears and the cogs on the derailleur, and then using the quick link to join it back together. And now fitting the cable onto the rear derailleur. So the quick link I bought from Halfords, it was a set of 2 for $2.99, so it's pretty good, really ideal to have as a spare if you need to take a chain off and just link it back up. And now just lubing the chain, and now we're ready to take it for a test ride. This is the first ride now on this Pantera. Obviously did a Pantera recently, which was just to tidy up. This one's had a bit more of a sort of overhaul. So first impression is really nice. To be honest, this is one of the nicest bikes that I've done recently. Straight away feels really nice to ride, really smooth. Seat position is really good, rolls really well. I know I say that on most of the bikes, but this one really does. Bike shifting really well at the moment. Front gear is a little bit slow, going down from middle cog to bottom cog. So yeah, really happy with this bike. Come out really nice. And these Indy S forks, despite the fact that they're obviously a low-end Indy fork, actually feel really good. The WTB seat that's on here as well, really comfortable. But the bike feels a lot less rigid on the back compared to what the Cannondale did that I last did. That just felt really hard. I did adjust the position on that and it made it a lot better positional wise, but just rigidity at the back just felt rock hard every time you went over everything. With this one it feels a lot softer. Now I was speaking to someone the other day and he said, I wonder if it's anything to do with the sort of the triple triangle shape, which I don't know, maybe it is, but definitely feels a lot forgiving. Yeah, I'm really surprised at how nice this bike feels, to be honest. Positional wise, it feels really good with the sort of riser bars on it, and the stem's not too long. It's not the shortest of stems, but it's not too long. And the tyres that I've put on it are just the cheap, I think they're Rally CST tyres or something like that they're called. I don't know if they're made by Rally, but they had a Rally packaging, but they don't actually say it on the wheels, on the tyres, sorry. Yeah, they're really good. For £12 or $11.99, whatever they were. Longevity wise, obviously I don't know. Brake pads on it are only cheap ones as well, which I put on here. So they are a little bit squealy, but I don't know whether that's just because they're new. They're not too bad, just a little bit. It could be just because they're new. So yeah, really good bike, really happy with it. As you can see, the bike's come out really well. Normally at this point I would showcase the bike with a video doing close-ups, but for some reason the camera didn't save it, so I've got a photo here which you can just see just how good the bike looks. The Indy forks look really good with the colour of the bike. Obviously it looks a lot fresher now. It's got the wheels which have been changed to D521 with LX hubs. It's got the core, handlebars and stem. It's got the Tioga seat post which has just been re-blacked. I didn't put the logo back on there. It's got an STX crank fitted on there now, an XT rear derailleur, STX RC shifters, LX V brakes with STX RC levers, STX RC front derailleur. The cassette is the original. I'm not sure which one it is, but it's a Shimano, but that's all been cleaned up. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll link the bits that weren't shown on here, like the forks. I'll link them in the description because they weren't on there, and also the XT rear derailleur. I've done a separate video for that. But yeah, I'm really impressed with this bike. It came out really well. You can see here now the difference from what it looked like when I first had it compared to what it looks like now. So it's a really good transformation. The bike rides really well. I'd recommend this bike to anyone who wants a nice build. The bike really does ride well. It feels really comfortable to ride. Obviously it depends on what spec you put on there, but it didn't feel overly harsh on the back end like the Cannondale, like I said, when I was actually riding the bike. But yeah, it's really good. Really impressed with it. I hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.